It's great to be back at Sanicole. I have to say this is the 36th Sanicole Airshow, and I haven't been here since the 1970s. So it is great to be back. It's one of the best, if not the best, airshow in Europe. Tremendous organisation.
Just so you don't have to take our word for it, that was airshow legend Brendan O'Brien welcoming you. We'll see more of him later on. As you can see, the show had some lovely September weather, very sunny and warm. Sanicole did have its share of problems though, with some last-minute cancellations, most notably following the crash of one of the L-39s of the Breitling jet team on Saturday when returning from a performance in the Netherlands, fortunately without any serious injuries and only the loss of an aircraft. Still, this meant the flying display was a bit shorter than planned, leaving the audience more time to visit the ground attractions. The flying display started with some model aircraft of types that would feature in the display later on. The first real aircraft to perform was the world's largest biplane, the Antonov AN-2, a rugged Russian machine. This one is based at Teuge in the Netherlands and is operated by Classic Wings. You can even go for a flight with them. Now this Piper Cub is piloted by legendary airshow pilot and commentator Brendan O'Brien, and who better to introduce his display than the man himself.
Okay, me. I got into flying really through, if you really go right back, as a balloonist in the mid-1960s. So this is really esoteric stuff. Let's set that aside. I then got involved in parachuting. I started as a sport parachutist at the APA at Netheravon, and then I went on to be a military parachutist, and kind of through that, and I was jumping out of an airplane one day, had a malfunction so that I couldn't jump, and I spoke to the guy that was flying the airplane, and he said, well, why don't you have a go? And it was all, if you like, downhill from there on. When you turn an airplane, it's supposed to bang to the side, then it can go. You're not supposed to turn it flat. Almost on my very first flight in a glider, the instructor said to me, would you like to do a loop-the-loop? And I like to do anything, so I had no idea what a loop was. And I remember him doing this loop and looking to one side. And gliders, of course, do very tight loops. And it was like, as the aircraft passed upside down, it was like somebody had stuck an electrode in my brain. And I thought, you know, this is just so spacey. I've got to keep doing this. Anyway, to move on. I then started flying with some really very good people. Doing aerobatics, because that was the thing I'd got interested in. None of them are alive anymore. That doesn't mean to say aerobatics are dangerous, but people like Neil Williams and Manx Kelly and so on and so forth. And through that I got involved with the Rothmans aerobatic team in the early 70s, and they just changed from stomp biplanes to pits. And Manx Kelly offered me the job initially of being a commentator and dog's body, but above all else, the thing that clinched the deal was I had a brand new Pitts S2A to fly around in and to pose, and for a young guy, you know, this is fantastic. So it really went on from there through the Pittsburgh to Marlborough, flew with Philip Neeson in Marlborough. I was involved with the original Wing Walkers with Vic, led the team in 1990. I started the Fournier duo with a guy called John Taylor, 2 RF4s, and we did that to the music of the Pink Floyd, and the reason was I taught the Pink Floyd to fly in the early 1980s. And so it kind of went on from there, and then I got into something that I've been doing more recently, which is truck top landings, and that was sponsored by Iveco Ford and so on and so forth. So a lot of different operations and sponsors. So I must stop, because that was a very long sentence and mustn't just be speaking for England.
Regulations in Belgium prevented Brandon from bringing his usual crazy flying routine, as the minimum altitude for aerobatics here is above his usual maximum altitude, unfortunately. But the crowd still got to see his pyrotechnics, something which is usually intended for use at sunset air shows.
For me, air shows are about entertainment. The flying is almost secondary. And so the thing that appeals to me is that kind of flying circus idea. And flying circus in its heyday was in the 1920s and 1930s, between the First World War and the Second World War. It started really because you had lots of young pilots, high on adrenaline, lots of old aeroplanes, Jennies and so on. And they wanted to do something exciting, so they would land in fields, take people for a ride, loop the loop. Yeah, they did have quite a high attrition rate, but that's how the whole barnstorming and circus thing. So I'm kind of into it in entertainment. I'm happy doing characters. I'm happy doing kind of different things. The landing on trucks, the wing walking, the crazy flying, all those kind of things.
With this airplane. Here's the smoke system. You can see it produces something thick smoke. This is environmentally friendly.
Firing pyrotechnics is not the only unusual thing about this Piper Cub, though. This aircraft was modified extensively.
Try that with most airplanes. You're going to get into that constitutional condition from a spin. Because airplanes don't like getting sideways.
This little Piper Cub, it's 1940, is probably the most modified Cub in existence. So it's a basic J3 Cub, 1940. However, if you look, you can see that it's got about 8 feet chopped off the wings. People think it's off the ends of the wings. It's not. You take 4 foot off the inboard sections on each side, which is why it's got full span ailerons. So very, very maneuverable. But where you gain in maneuver, you lose in lift. It's got a big, relatively for a J3, a big engine, 100 horsepower. It's only a single seat because nothing else will fit in, because in the front of the cockpit there is a large smoke tank. And also, if you see some of the extraneous bits and pieces hanging off the aircraft, this is the first aircraft really in Europe that has been cleared to carry explosive pyrotechnics. And so we're working towards, again, part of the circus thing, doing night shows.
Following Brandon O'Brien's display was the first Belgian act at the show, an Extra 330, piloted by Didier Amelings. He is chairman of the Belgian Aerobatic Club, located at the airfield of Saint-Hubert, and was also Belgian champion aerobatics in 2010. Just watch that negative G push out. Another Belgian act taking to the sky, not nearly as energetic as the Extra, but no less extraordinary. These are 5 Piper Warrior tourism aircraft belonging to Aeroclub Ursel, based at the airfield with the same name. Together, they form formation team the Victors, as most of their aircraft have a V for Victor as the first letter in their registration. They are welcome guests at aviation events big and small throughout Belgium, and have also performed at the Slovak International Aviation Festival at Sliac in 2011.
In arrow formation. They were in delta formation, which was a sort of V. Now they've changed back to arrow formation.
Beeldformatie, en dan kan ik maar zeggen dan, we nu kijken ook naar links, rechts en vooral de achterste toestel. Hoe dat is wensen met de vechten echt werken om een positie te houden. Elke kleinste verandering door een kleine windstoot of wat ook, moeten zij dus corrigeren om hun positie terug te winnen. Het is zeer moeilijk, vooral met toestellen die zijn uitgerust met niet.
Here we see the team break for a 2x3 cross.
Toestellen die niet gemaakt voor formatie liggen, maakt het desmaal moeilijker. Ook het gebrek aan stuurkracht, of aan pk zou ik zeggen natuurlijk eerder voor dit soort toestellen. aanvallen naar elkaar toe. Maar gewoon een...
The section with 3 aircraft includes leader Manu de Krane, Victor II Luc de Smet, and his son Rick de Smet in number 3, crossing with Victor 4 Frick van Ifte and Victor 5 Matthias Schmidt.
Now 1, 2 and 3 are going to change their formation into a close line astern. At least I think that's the
Here we see them rejoining before presenting another maneuver, the Typhoon Break, named after the RAF Typhoon fighter bombers which were stationed in Ursel in 1944 in support of Allied operations to liberate the River Scheldt estuary. The victors are actually patrons of a work group in Ursel which aims to commemorate the history of the Ursel B-67 airfield from those days.
Space them out. And once they've got themselves installed in Arrowhead, they'll change the formation once again into what they call swans.
Nu kunnen we goed volgen. Je ziet dat Matthias nu volle snelheid komt aanvliegen om te trachten zich zo snel mogelijk in positie te houden. Hoe dat hij moet anticiperen, hij moet nu al gas terugnemen, want hij heeft te veel snelheid. Het is gewoon gas terugnemen, snelheid laten afnemen, zodat hij dezelfde snelheid heeft als de anderen. En voilà, dat is mooie formatie. En ondertussen gaan we in een Swan-formatie.
There's the change into swan formation.
And here we see the final split of formation team, the victors.
Bravo.
One of the show's major sponsors was Swiss chronographer Breitling. Even with the cancellation of the Breitling jet team, they still had 2 displays in the program, and here is the first, their resplendent looking DC-3 Dakota.
It was in 1935, 77 years ago, and here she still lives today. This particular one, sorry, the last one was built in May 1946, more than 18,000 were built. Here is this typical one with black colours. This one was built in 1940 for American Airlines. About 300 of these aircraft are still flying out of the 18,000s, not just as reminders, they did do a lot of useful work.
This particular DC-3 was built in 1940 for American Airlines. Despite having over 75,000 hours on the clock, it is still in excellent condition and still carries passengers from its home airfield at Bourges in Switzerland nowadays, even though it's for pleasure rather than business now. And a nice topside to conclude this nostalgic display. We'll see another Dakota later on in the program. An extreme change of pace with F-16s from 31st Tiger Squadron, based at nearby Kleine Brogel, the base from which most of the participating aircraft in the show operate.
Coming in from the left, fighting wing.
They jokingly call themselves the Thunder Tigers, and they always put on a highly enjoyable performance at Sanicole. Bear in mind, these are not display pilots, but regular everyday squadron pilots who perform this routine in public just once per year. Here's the second Breitling sponsored display at the show. Pierre Marmy and his Russian-built Sukhoi Su-26 aerobatics aircraft. As you can see, the aircraft is registered in Switzerland, and Pierre Marmy is also Swiss and was Swiss aerobatics champion no fewer than 7 times, but he actually lives in Belgium. This is Bob Grimstead, leader of the Red Hawks, starting his Fournier RF4 motor glider rather unconventionally. The number 2 in this formation is Matthew Hill. Between them, they have over 30,000 flying hours, and each of them has flown over 100 types of aircraft. With the Red Hawks, they present an elegant aerial ballet as part of the It Takes Two theme at Sanicole, providing a nice contrast with high-performance aerobatics aircraft and the roar of jet engines. And a nice tight pass wraps up the Red Hawks display. This is the trusty Belgian Seeking Search and Rescue helicopter, part of 40 Squadron based at Coxside. Belgium still operates 4 of these aging helicopters, which are due to be replaced in the next couple of years by the NH-90. Until then though, the Sea King will have to soldier on, doing what it does best, saving lives of people in distress. And here a friendly wave before landing. These two silence twisters, piloted by Peter Wells and Guy Westgate, form the SWIP team. SWIP stands for Scottish Widow Investment Programme and has been sponsoring this display team since 2011. Before the sponsorship, the team were known as the Twister Duo. The silence twister is quite an agile ultralight, and perhaps interesting to Belgian spectators is that it has a Belgian UL power engine.
So there you see they just did a split on the way down. Now they're doing synchronized maneuvers, targeting maneuvers. They go down or a cross. So now they pull up into vertical control, doing a corner roll, and now doing synchronized stall turns. Keeping the rudder on, aircraft pivoting.
Like the Red Hawks, SWIP team was part of the theme It Takes Two at Sanicole. And here we see the love of the SWIP team for the Belgian public. A last-minute addition to the flying display then. Following the cancellation of some other acts, this aircraft came in support of some other planes we'll see later on. But it is a perfectly good performer itself. the Swedish Air Force Historic Flight's Saab SK-60, an advanced jet trainer. Thanks must go to Leif Dahlberg of the Swedish Air Force Historic Flight for providing the onboard footage you see here. The Saab SK-60, or its export version the Saab 105, is usually configured as a two-seater, but it can actually carry 4 with a different seating arrangement, and can be used then for liaison flights. The SK-60 was also the mount of the Swedish Air Force display team Team 60, and in Austria it was used by the Austrian Air Force's team Karo Aas. It's actually a difficult aircraft to fly in formation, as the seating is side by side, and the pilot's view is therefore restricted in one direction. Onto a current Air Force demonstration team then. These are the Belgian Red Devils, flying 4 CI Marchetti SF-260s. Before we see them in action though, here's a C-47 Skytrain, a military DC-3 dropping parachutists of the Parachute Group Holland, like it would have done during the Second World War. Notice the round parachutes, not like the modern rectangular canopies, that can be steered accurately. This C-47 is nicknamed Dragomoot, as it was used for glider towing in the Second World War. It is now stationed at East Kirkby in the UK. What a treat to watch this demonstration in Belgium. And here are the Red Devils after forming up in the sky. They are based at Boversham, where these aircraft are used as elementary trainers.
So there they are, they've started their display, they've just completed a cleverly maneuver, and they're in box.
The leader is Senior Captain Alain Collard. Number 2 is Lieutenant Steve Malburny. Devil 3 is Senior Captain Albert Baltus, and Devil 4 is Lieutenant Stefan Braam.
They're pulling up to the loop. Senior Captain Alain Collard is leading. Follow the leader and show you the other side of the aircraft again. Very nice tight formation as they go out the way on our half right. And he takes our eyeliner to the right, and there are the three back again for half Cuban 80 maneuvers in sequence rather than in number 2, Steve Malburny, and number 3, Albert Baltus. Top of the loop, making that an avalanche. They run the aircraft through 90 degrees, there's the first point, second point, third point, and then back the right way up. Combined speed of around 700 kilometers an hour. Here's the éclatement final of the Aero.
Now here's a unique aircraft. This is the Verhees Delta, designed and built by Limburg aeronautical designer Bart Verhees. The plane may look strange, but it apparently has some very good flying characteristics and is very stable in flight. There were supposed to be 4 RAF trainers at Sanicole. Sadly, the Grob Tudor was grounded following a training accident in the UK, and the King Air went unserviceable. The Hawk display pilot got sick on show day and therefore had to cancel, so the only RAF trainer left in the program was this, the Shorts Tucano, painted in a magnificent Jubilee paint scheme. The aircraft is based at Linton-on-Ouse and is flown by John Bond. The paint scheme celebrates the 60th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II on the throne of the UK. You can clearly see the marking Elizabeth II Regina on the belly of the Tucano. Also from the UK are these two Pitts S1D aerobatics aircraft, and they belong to Trig Team, another item in the It Takes Two theme. Trig is the name of the team sponsor, a company that produces avionics for light aviation. The two pilots in the team are Richard Grace and Dave Pulliston. Richard Grace is the son of legendary Spitfire display pilot Carolyn Grace, and he also displays that aircraft at air shows nowadays. Before Trig started sponsoring the team in 2011, they were simply known as the Pitts Duo in the UK. And another British act, this time courtesy of the Royal Navy, a Lynx HMA-8 of 815 Squadron based at Yeovilton. The Royal Navy will soon start replacing a large chunk of their Lynx fleet with the Wildcat. As a result, the Royal Navy display team Black Cats will be replaced by a solo Lynx demonstration, so this is a taste of things to come. The Lynx's main operational duties include submarine hunting, surface warfare in support of Navy frigates, and search and rescue. The second aircraft of the Swedish Air Force historic flight to display was this Saab J-29 Tunan, the first operational Saab jet fighter, but which was at quite an advanced level for its days, and it's easy to see why it earned the nickname Flying Barrel. More than 800 of these aircraft were built. They not only flew with the Swedish Air Force in the 1950s and early 1960s, but 30 also flew with the Austrian Air Force. Interestingly, the Saab J-29 also saw service during UN peacekeeping missions in the Democratic Republic of Congo from 1961 until 1964. The 5 aircraft used there did not return to Sweden, but were destroyed on the spot, as the cost of transporting them back north was deemed excessive and the aircraft type was due to leave frontline service in 1965 anyway. This is the Belgian skydiving team Hayabusa, winners of the European and World Championship skydiving in 2012. They are a civilian display team with support from the Belgian military. Takeoff of the final British display act at Sanicole 2012, the excellent Aerostars display team. Usually they fly 6 Yak-50s, but long-time unserviceability of one of their aircraft meant the lead plane of the formation was an Su-29 aerobatics airplane. They present constant action with formation aerobatics and solo maneuvers alternating seamlessly. The Yak-50 first flew in 1975 in what was then the Soviet Union. While it was conceived as an aerobatics aircraft, several countries used it as a trainer. Initial models often suffered from wing spar failures, but this was resolved by strengthening the structure. About 60 of these planes remain airworthy today and are mostly used by private owners in Europe, the USA and Australia. And here a final close-up look at the two types of Russian aerobatics aircraft used in the Airstars display, the Yak-50 and Su-29. Coming from the Netherlands, this is the ever-impressive Dutch F-16 demo team with the Orange Lion. Piloting the plane is Captain Stefan Hutten, or Stitch, from 312 Squadron based at Volkel, and he is supported by a mixed support crew of the Volkel-based squadrons, most known among these Ralph Aerts, or Shake, a former F-16 display pilot assigned to 313 Squadron. Here's an odd pairing, a Boeing 737 and a P-51 Mustang. The connection between the two is that the Mustang pilot, Frederik Vormezele, is a 737 captain with Jet Airfly, the company that operates the Boeing in this formation. Jet Airfly operates 19 737s out of Brussels Airport, in addition to 2 Boeing 767s for long-haul flights. These will be joined by 2 Boeing 787 Dreamliners, making the Jet Airfly Dreamliners the only ones of their type to be operated in Belgium. Here's the famous World War II Mustang Cat 7 again, flown by Frederik Vormezele and operated by Classic Wings of Belgium. The aircraft is stationed in Antwerp and is owned by Dutch national Jan Willem van der Vlier. Coming from Austria was Hannes Ark with his Edge 540. The name may sound familiar as Hannes was one of the most prominent pilots to take part in the Red Bull Air Race World Series, winning the trophy in 2008 and finishing as runner-up in 2009 and 2010. The Edge 540 is constructed by Zivco Aeronautics in the United States and is a highly popular extreme aerobatics plane, capable of up to 420 degrees of roll per second. The Edge 540 was the most common aircraft in the Red Bull Air Race, and in fact, all champions flew with this plane. Now here's something very unusual, a topside by a United States Air Force B-52 strategic bomber, now in its 60th year of operational service. Continuous upgrades have enabled the B-52 to stay in service this long, and with future upgrades it is expected to remain in frontline service until 2040, almost a century of age then. Another display item from across the ocean were the Canadian Skyhawks parachute display team, performing amazing stunts on the way down. end-to-end a flypast by the Belgian Air Force C-130 the team jumped from. A third and final display by the Swedish Air Force historic flight, an aircraft that was restored to flight a few short months ago, the Saab 37 Viggen. The Viggen was the Swedish Air Force's main fighter in the 1970s, 80s and early 1990s until the Gripen entered service. Its double delta layout gave it more agility than a conventional delta-winged aircraft, and it had plenty of thrust thanks to its Volvo Auramate turbofan. This engine had an unusual feature for fighter aircraft, a thrust reversing system which allowed to stop the aircraft on very short runways. The Viggen was also a contestant in the competition to replace the F-104 in Belgian service, but lost to the F-16, which is still in service today. Sanicole 2012 was the final public display of Lieutenant Igor Kraags on the Augusta A109 of the Belgian Air Force. He has over 1,700 hours on A109 and was Belgian A109 display pilot since 2009. All Belgian A109s are based at Beauvais as part of 17 and 18 Squadron. The helicopter you see here has the squadron crests of both units painted on its sides. We're nearing the end of the show, and here's one of the Sanicole regulars, the Royal Jordanian Falcons, flying 4 extra 300s.
That's -3G. Difficult to do in close information.
The team are led by Captain Abdel Hamid. He joined the Royal Jordanian Air Force in 1993 and has more than 1,900 hours of flight time.
So the line of red salute just finishing there, the number 4 shot up underneath them and passed through them. In complete shape now for a barrel roll. Think about this barrel roll, watch for them separating, widening the formation a bit, and doing a 3-tailor roll. I call this a twinkle roll.
The final display act was provided by the Belgian Air Force, the outstanding F-16 solo display by Renault Thies, Grat to his mates, piloted with 350 Squadron at 4M.